Hello, I'm Todd Souza, and in this video, I'm going to share my backstory with you that motivated me to creating a YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy my journey. Now, what time is it? Hello everybody, we're on our way to pick up the brand new 2020 450 RWE. I had just spent the last 10 years building up my real estate business, neglecting myself from riding. So my wife says, you need to go down and buy yourself a dirt bike and go riding. So I went down to the dealership and I took a look at the 2019s. I didn't see anything I wanted. They said that the 2020 models were going to be coming out in another month or so, and I decided to wait. I came back and I saw the Works Edition on display. I said that's the one I gotta have. So I ended up discussing it with my wife. We said go ahead, let's do it, and we ended up buying it. It took me 6 weeks to finally get out on the track. I just let it sit and I'd start up now and then. And on my first ride back, I was out there for about an hour. I'm on my last session. I go over the jump in the back, front end tucks, handlebars tweak, jams my shoulder and my back, using my left hand to prop up my right arm onto the throttle to make it back to the pits. And that was my first ride. So the bike went back into the garage. 6 weeks later, we flew out to Hawaii for our annual vacation. We left on the 24th of December, and we planned on returning January 1st. My wife, she rented an Airbnb in this huge building, walking distance to the beach. Had a great view, you can see right here. During the week, we simply hung out and relaxed on the beach, catching some sun. On the 7th day, I decided to play in the water, and I went out to the beach, I'm with waves, and I went way too far. I turned around, I see this wave over my head, it's like 10 feet tall, and I had no time to run. So basically, I took a breath of air, I dove into it. The wave was on its power stroke, it was so strong, it lifted me up off my feet, it dropped me on my head. I'm in the water, I hear the snap of my C2, which paralyzed me from my neck down. I was holding my breath, and it was a matter of time before I started sucking up water and drowning. I literally I knew I was going to die, and it was just a matter of time before I transitioned. I thought of my wife. I'm thinking she doesn't even know what happened. At the time, my spirit was, it felt like I was looking upward, Come to find out later, my body was facing downward. I remember everything was just really calm. Everything was peaceful. When I decided I wanted to live, it seemed like my spirit popped back into my body. I could feel that the water was up to my nose and covering my ear, and I knew I couldn't breathe, so I thought I needed to do a push-up, to get my face out of the water, and my arms didn't react. And then I thought, you know what, I need to push my body out of the water. Yet again, my legs didn't move. The feeling of the need to breathe was drawing closer. Inhaling water crossed my thoughts again. I was basically running out of time. I thought, I need help. And as soon as I thought I needed help, about 2 seconds later, this lady started screaming. And I didn't know what she was saying, but I knew that she was screaming for somebody to help me. 2 Hawaiian kids came over, from what they were telling me. They grabbed my arms, lifted them over my head. They flipped me over on my back. I didn't feel anything. About that time, a wave came crashing in. It covered my body, covered my face. My mouth was sticking out like a whale. I took a couple puffs of air. For some reason, the kid let my arms go, and the wave drew me back into the ocean. I had to hold my breath yet again. Three large guys came in, grabbed my arms, grabbed my legs, picked me up out of the water, carried me up, across the beach, up to the building. I turned my head. I'm looking at this lady. There's about 7 people around me. They're all yelling orders at each other and telling each other what to do. I don't know. Somebody was in charge. And I said, hey, could you give me some water to rinse my mouth out? I had sand and salt everywhere. And finally, they got me some water, rinsed out my mouth, and then I had sand in my eyes. I said, hey, get me a towel, wipe my eyes out. And about that time, someone said, hey, can you move your feet? I turned my head, I looked at my feet, and I was able to wiggle them. At that time, I had a sense of relief, However, pain radiated down my neck, down my shoulders, and down my arm. The nerve endings were so sensitive, you couldn't even touch it with your fingertips, right? And so I asked them over and over again, don't touch my right arm, don't touch it. And sure enough, everybody wanted to touch it. Even at the hospital, I asked the nurses and the doctors, don't touch my arm, and I swear everybody had to touch my arm. My wife, she was looking for hotels, she was looking for flights out, nothing was available, not for another 7 days, I think it was. And so she had to find a hotel. I called her up like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm released. I released myself. And she wasn't too happy about that. I shouldn't have done that myself. I shouldn't have done it looking back. And so anyway, she came and picked me up. I did my walking around for the doctors. I had to show them I had to walk. I walked around. They said, okay. They released me. I signed myself out. I wheeled myself out the front door. And we went to the hotel. Fortunately, my wife called a friend of hers that has a condo in Honolulu. It was available for us. And we ended up going there and recuperating, for another, I think it was like another 7 or 8 days until we could fly out on the January 9th. I was basically a different Todd than when I first left for Hawaii. Upon coming home, I had to wear this neck brace for a total of 3 months, and sleeping was the worst part of it. I think the second worst part was the spasms in my neck and my shoulders trying to keep my head up. I was going from resting to support. Now, ironically, I was released from this neck brace almost a year from the time I first went looking for a new dirt bike. Weird, huh? Once I got the neck brace off, I started doing push-ups off the wall. I'd do about 10 every day for about a week. And then I transitioned to the coffee table. I'd do push-ups off the coffee table on my knees, about 10 every day. And then I'd transition the next week doing push-ups off the floor on my knees for another count of 10. My mom was calling every day, seeing how I was doing. I had friends calling. I had friends texting. I even had Rob McCarty here call me, came over to visit. We watched Supercross together. Rob and I kept in contact over the next few months. We talked about getting back out on the track, but honestly, I needed the will to want to ride. Almost 7 months after my first ride, with only 1 hour on my bike, the day finally came. I met Andreas and Rob. We went riding at the vet track at MMX, as you see here. The very next day, I took a street bike ride, and about a month later, I met Rob and Andreas again, and we took a single track ride. It was time to get back out to the MX track. Rob and I went back out there. I was touring the pits. I came across an old buddy of mine that I used to race D36 cross country with. He in turn introduced me to other riders And before you know it, they're inviting me out to go riding the next weekend. We went to Diablo MX and had a blast. They were talking in the pits, hey Souza, you need to go racing with us next weekend. And I said, hey, you know what, I just got through recuperating from a pretty serious accident, and my neck is still weak. I'm weak, I'm not in shape, I'm just getting back to riding after many years. And they didn't want to hear it. They just said, hey, you know, you need to show up. We have a motorhome for you. You can stay with us, and it'll be fun. My bike probably had, you know, let's say 5 hours on it. And now I'm at the racetrack. I'm just cool, and I'm just relaxed, and I'm not expecting anything, and I'm just there to have fun. The flagger drops and I take off, and I'm not enthused. I'm not really into it. I just let everybody pass me, and everybody just walks from me, right? As I kept riding, I started feeling more comfortable. I started dead last, and I started working my way up. You can see in the results that I'm showing you here that I went from, I think it was 7th all the way up to in 5th position. And here I'm passing the 4th place guy, and I'm on my way to catching a friend of ours that was pitting with us named Nick Dragovich. I'm catching him. He's about, I don't know, what's that, 50 feet in front of me as he passed the finish line, and I was right after him. I think if I had another lap, I would have probably passed him. But he's a really good rider, and he gave it his all, and he was very pleased with his 3rd place, as I was with my 4th. This is round 3 of the Grand Prix. I'm lined up. I'm not too familiar with the GoPro. I asked Nick, hey, is it on? He says, oh yeah, it's on. But I didn't realize that it was in the wrong setting. It was in a speed mode or something. Time warp, that's what it was. And so we're lined up here. You can see the flagger over there. And he's about to release. He says, are you guys all ready? We're like, yeah, we're ready. See the green flag? And he just go. So this guy just bolts out of there, slingshots. I'm right behind him. I'm wheeling out of the corner. See the front end lift up. I'm chasing him down. I think I'm taking better lines than he is. And he's just all over the place. He's all nervous, and so I see an opening. I know it's coming up, and I just open her up. I just pass him. I'm anticipating those 2 jumps. I've been practicing this track. I know the track pretty well, and that section I just came out of was really slippery. We ended up doing 8 laps total. I think the laps were about 5.5 minutes long. I just didn't have my endurance up too well compared to the 1st place guy, but I ended up with 2nd place. I'm pretty happy with that. Nick ended up with 3rd. The next weekend we met at Diablo again, then we'd follow up with E Street, Riverfront, back to MMX. We were riding every weekend. My speed was increasing, my endurance was getting better, my strength was increasing, and everything was wonderful. Then one day we were out at MMX. I went out for my 3rd session. I was just tooling around, everything was fine, and I went off a jump, and this happened.